Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Sigma 17mm f4 DGDN in combination with Panasonic S9. 17mm f4 is one of the smallest L-mount lenses on the market, which makes it a great match for one of the smallest full-frame cameras on the market, Panasonic Lumix S9. In this video, we will take a look at the performance and features of the 17mm DGDN in combination with the S9 to see how they work together. 17mm is an ultra-wide focal length that provides a very wide field of view and dramatic perspective. It puts a lot of emphasis on the foreground and very little emphasis on the subject. It is a great focal length for landscapes, cityscapes, architecture, interiors, and so on. At f4, it is not the brightest lens out there, but on full frame you can still get solid low-light performance. 17mm DGDN is 48.8mm long and it weighs 225 grams in the L-mount version. Sigma says that the user experience is as important as the performance with the I series, and I can confirm that. I really like the minimalist design of the I series and I think that it looks great. The build quality is also outstanding. It is fully made of metal, including both the rings and the filter thread. It feels super solid and very premium. I can only give Sigma a full score in this category. It is fully weather sealed and there is a nice rubber gasket around the mount. Despite that it only weighs 225 grams, it is a bit front heavy on the S9, which is extremely light, but I can say that it is a really good match in terms of the form factor. Mounted on the S5 II, it also works really well as expected, despite that the size is less of a priority in this case. It uses 55mm filter thread, which is not the most common diameter, so using a step-up ring might be a good option. The lens hood is included in the box, it is metal as well, and actually one of the best made lens hoods that I've ever used. In terms of the control elements, there is the focusing ring and aperture ring. The focusing ring has a nice amount of resistance and it can give you some amount of artificial feedback. The focus throw can be adjusted in the camera menu just like with Panasonic lenses, which is great. The ring has a nice grippy texture and it is very pleasant to use. The aperture ring has very tactile clicks at 1/3 of a stop increments. The S9 only has one command dial on the top of the camera, so having dedicated aperture control is very nice. If you prefer to use a dial on the camera to change the aperture, you can simply set it to A position. AF/MF switch is also available, which is particularly useful in this case because there isn't one on the S9. So how about the optical qualities? I have tested it with Panasonic S5 IIX because the S9 RAWs are not compatible with the Lightroom yet. As always, 24MP full-frame sensor is not the most challenging, so it should be a fairly easy job for the 17mm DGDN. The central sharpness is excellent right from f4. This is already as much detail as you can get with a 24MP sensor on this testing scene. There is a little bit of chromatic aberration, but you won't see that in real-world use. You will get the same image quality from f4 to f8. There might be a tiny bit of diffraction at f11, but that again won't be visible in practical applications. The diffraction is a lot more visible at f16. Basically the same applies to the corner sharpness. The amount of detail is really good right from f4. There might be a slight improvement between f4 and f5.6, but it is very minor. f8 is very similar to f5.6. Some diffraction is visible at f11 and more at f16. As expected, Sigma 17mm f4 DGDN is more than good enough for a 24MP sensor. It captures plenty of detail with good contrast and takes very nice ultra-wide pictures and videos in combination with the S9. Both also offer excellent size to output quality ratio, so I can say that the 17mm f4 from Sigma is one of the lenses that helps the S9 make sense. Much like most small DSLM lenses nowadays, 17mm DGDN relies on profile corrections. There is a significant amount of barrel distortion, but nothing crazy by ultra-wide standards. It can be completely fixed by profile corrections or in-camera corrections with a very acceptable effect on the image quality in the corners. I don't see much vignetting after the corrections, so that seems to be fine. The minimum focus distance is just 12 cm, which translates to 0.28 times magnification. That makes it a very capable semi-macro lens. You can get an interesting perspective when you combine this angle and minimum focus distance. The image quality at the minimum focus distance is very good, and you don't even have to step down too much. It is an ultrawide f4 lens with 7 aperture blades, so in terms of bokeh there is not that much to see here. You will get some subject separation at close distances, and the quality of bokeh is fine, but the subject separation is not the main priority. The autofocus works just as well as with Panasonic lenses. It is very fast, always accurate, and there is no hunting. In combination with the S9, it works great in the low light and low contrast situations as well. Also, it is a 17mm f4 lens, which isn't particularly challenging for the autofocus system. And it works just as well in video. It is completely smooth with no hunting whatsoever. Importantly, the autofocus system is completely silent and it won't be picked up by in-camera microphone. The amount of focus breathing is very low. A little bit of focus breathing is visible, but I don't think that it will be an issue in real-world applications. As expected, 17mm DGDN is not stabilized, but the in-body image stabilization in the S9 is very interesting in combination with this lens. The IBIS is more than good enough for static shots and pointing the camera around. 17mm is certainly not a challenge for the S9 IBIS. The interesting part is the E-stabilization. If you set it to high, you will get walking performance which is approaching high-end action cameras. That makes this combination very interesting for handheld filming and vlogging if that is still a thing. To sum up, Sigma 17mm f4 DGDN is a very solid compact ultra-wide lens. It is also a really good match for the S9. It is not a pancake lens and the size of the 17mm DGDN is not quite negligible, but the combination is still very compact and travel friendly. One of the biggest highlights of the I series from Sigma for me personally is the build quality and very engaging control elements. The optical qualities are more than sufficient for a 24-megapixel sensor. It certainly takes very nice pictures and video in combination with Panasonic L-mount cameras. Also worth mentioning are excellent close-up capabilities. With f4 aperture, it probably won't be the first choice for astrophotography and low-light video. Sigma offers other L-mount lenses that are very suitable specifically for that. If you are looking for a small, fun-to-use lens for your S9 or basically any other mirrorless camera, I think that you will be happy with the Sigma 17mm f4 DGDN. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.